We are in Yaakov, and we're in Brachot. We're out starting chapter 8, the Mishnah, and it says, Beit Shammai. We're having an argument. Just to give you the introduction, we're having an argument as to what how the bracha should be said for Havdalah. Okay, I have the glass, the cup, the candle right in front of me. So what bracha do I make? We all make, just for argument's sake, we all make Berei Mirei Ha'esh, who creates the different types of light. But in the Mishnah, there was an argument. It says, Beit Shammai Omrim Shabara Me'or Ha'esh. Beit Shammai said that one should say Shabara Me'or Ha'esh, that created the light of the fire. Beit Hillel Omrim, and Beit Hillel said, Borei Me'orei Ha'esh, who creates lights of the fire. You understand the difference? It's I turned the wrong page. Okay, so you're on 51b3. 51b3. Okay, so it's at the very top. Not very top. Oh, look at this, a whole different here. Wait. So go to 51b4. Excuse me. I'm looking at the Hebrew. I'm not looking at anything else. 51b4. Okay, so it said right in the middle, a six dispute. Again, Beit Shammai said, Shabara Ma'or Ha'esh, who created the illumination of the fire, and Beit Hillel said, Borei Me'or Ha'esh, who creates illumination of the fire. So what we have here, it seems, is a change of the word bara. Well, actually, two changes. Bara versus borei, created versus creates, past tense versus a participle, and ma'or versus ma'orei, either illumination or illuminations. Okay, that's the two arguments. That's the double-edged argument. So now, if you go to that's as far as you need on that page. So then you go to page 52b4. I always feel like I'm playing bingo here. 52b4. And this one starts with Amarava. So it's in the second side, where it says the Gemara clarifies the dispute. You haven't? Okay. So Amarava. So Rava says, Bebara Kule alma lo plige, the bara mashma. No one disputes with regard to the word bara that it connotes he created in the past tense, and hence the clause shabara me'or ha'esh, who created the illumination of the fire, properly connotes that we are praising Hashem for having created fire in the past on the first Saturday night. And what happened on the first Saturday night was Adam. Adam saw fire. Either he banged things together, the stones together, or it was lightning. Whatever the case was, I forget what the Midrash says, but or it could be different opinions. But he realized fire, and so fire was good, so created fire. Okay? That's number one. And then, ki pligi, but where they do argue is bebore, with regard to the word bore. Beit Shammai Savri, the Beit Shammai holds that bore the atid lemivra. Bore connotes that he will create in the future. And he said, and Archul explains before I get to everybody else, the word bore is actually a verb in the present tense and is translated who creates. However, it can also connote one who continuously creates, and as such implies one who will create in the future as well as in the present. So he didn't like that. And hence he says it's an inappropriate text for blessing which praises God for having created fire in the past. And Beit Hillel Savri, and Beit Hillel holds Borei Nami Debaran Mashma. That Borei, who creates, also connotes he created in the past, and hence it is an appropriate text of the blessing. So he explains regarding how an obviously present tense verb can refer to the past. See above. Beit explains why Beit Hillel chooses to use the word borei in the blessing, even though they too agree that bara certainly connotes the past. So far we have a simple argument. What do we say? Do we say, is borei inclusive of the past and the future and the present? And if that's the case, since we're looking at fire, the creation of fire, which was created, is no longer created. We make it, but it's not created anymore, right? It's only created once.
The very first.
The very first fire is created. Until then, after that, it's not created anymore. It's just we manufacture it.
So his first one, he's saying he's praising God for the fact that fire was created at all.
Correct, and so the first I deny it was created.
That there's such a thing.
Right, so that's why bara versus borei, which could mean, according to Beit Hillel, Beit Shammai, it could mean who creates and continuously, and so that means future, and that would be inappropriate because fire was made. It wasn't continuous. It's not a continuous creation. That's how he's looking at it. Beit Hillel is saying borei also indicates the past, and that's why he likes it. That's why he is using it.
In other words, if he's creating now,
he also created.
He obviously had a starting point.
Correct. So he also created, so that's why he's saying you can do it. Fine. So now we continue on. Again, before we get into the whole matter, just let's hear the Gemara. So Meitiv Rav Yosef challenged this explanation by citing 3 verses from the Torah. It says Yotze or from not the Torah, just from Tanakh. Yotze or uvarei choshech. One verse says, and we say it every morning, one who forms light and creates darkness. So it's again, darkness was created. We shouldn't be saying that. We should say bara. I mean that's right. So borei, if borei really is future, so then you have a problem. Yotze harim uvorei ruach. Again, the verse states he forms mountains and creates winds. And borei hashamayim v'notehem. And the third one is who creates borei, who creates the heavens and stretches them forth. In all these cases, borei is used in reference to things which Hashem created in the past during the 6 days of creation. So he says, accordingly, it cannot be that Beit Shammai maintain that borei connotes only the future and not the past. So that's impossible, right? Because we see psukim, we see verses that mean the exact opposite. That means the past. So how could it be that this is the argument that they're having? You understand? That's if you ever want to get rid of an argument, I show you why you're wrong. Okay? Really, that's what it is. If I can show you why you're wrong, there can be no more arguments going on. It's a simple thing. Okay, so it wasn't Beit Shammai's wrong. It's that Rava was wrong. Rava was holding that the argument is because of past versus future. And Rav Yosef says, Rava, I hate to disagree with you, you're a learned guy, but the problem is we have psukim that do the exact same thing using borei, meaning the past. So Beit Yosef, Beit Shammai certainly knows of those psukim. To argue that they are going to say that that's going to the future is foolishness.
It implies the past. I mean, it's saying he creates, but again, it implies the past because
it implies a continuous.
Now it had to have started someplace.
Yeah, but it also implies continuous stuff. Yeah. So, by the way, when it comes to those verses, Yotze or Rechoshech, I gave this in my crash course on prayer that I was having on Sundays, but I'll say it one more time. That's just a cross-reference to people on YouTube. Okay, crash course on prayer. Okay, but the biggest thing is that when we say Yotze or Rechoshech, who creates light, who forms light and creates darkness, what we're really saying is, what we're reminding ourselves is that Hashem creates the ability for for sin. That's darkness, sin. He forms the light, that's Torah, and he creates the opportunity for darkness. So it's not a matter of that's where every morning we're reminding ourselves that we do not believe in a devil or an alternate power to God. God is the one who does everything. We don't excuse that. God doesn't make evil. He's not evil. He creates the opportunity for us to trip up. That's all.
It's not the devil made me do that.
Right. So that's what we're saying every day. So in that way, we're saying he's creating now. He did create. He is creating, and he will always create that possibility. So it is indeed past, present, and future. With that statement, it's continuous action; it never stops. Also, Yotze Or, constantly creating the light, and this goes back to another philosophy that we've taught many times. That God, if God took His mind away from us for even 1 millisecond, the world will come to cease to exist. So God is constantly, continually forming and creating. It's not a one-time act and God left the building. God is constantly here. That's what we're saying. There's a lot of philosophy that goes into prayer. Really is. And certainly when it was said by the prophets, or who was that? Isaiah said that. And so when you go to Isaiah, there's a tremendous amount of philosophy that just gets lost because we don't learn it. That's the biggest thing. We don't learn it. It's complicated poetry, and it's not the 5 books of Moses that we read every single year. And by the way, even though we read the Torah every single year, there are many people who never read the Torah. That's an amazing statement to make, but it's true. I'm talking about Orthodox.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Orthodox. I'm not talking about consumer reform. They have to go to Shul to hear it. But what I'm saying is, the Jews, the Orthodox Jews who go to Shul and are religious Jews, for some reason they do not know Torah. I don't know why. It boggles my mind. You don't know basic storylines, but you don't know. They don't know. The Torah. If I hear it for 20 years, you would think that I would know it pretty well. And the bottom line is people don't. And so now that's Torah. Well, we're doing it every single week. And we're reading it and so on and so forth. And when it comes to Tanakh, which we don't read. We're lucky if we the Haftarot. And all people are having their Kiddush club during the Haftarot anyway. Or they're talking, or they're schmoozing, or they're learning, whatever they're doing. Okay. So the Haftarot certainly are lost. And then when it comes to the Megillot, people just want to hear Haman. Again, you're not listening to the story. Listen to the stories and get involved in the story. But that's what I'm saying. So with all that, if they would do it, people would take that simple advice that I'm giving at this point, there would be a lot of philosophy that we would drink in from our prophets that just would carry us through a lot of problems, because we'd understand that this is what is going on. This is what Hashem wants. And we don't always have to understand what's going on. We just have to accept it. But that's Yotze Ovrei Choshech. Again, the fact that God is creating the opportunity to do evil. Again, not doing the evil, but creating the opportunity. Okay. But it's so then what happens? Fine, that's my little speech for the day. So then it goes, it's not really the only one, but... Okay, then we go on. It says, Ella Amarav, so where is this here? Oh, so it's on page 52b5 now. So it says, Ella Amarav Yosef, V'bara uvavore, with regard to the words bara and bore, Kuliom alo peligi devara mashma. Everybody agrees that both words connote the past, and thus either word may be used. Either they could say bore ma'or ha'esh or bara ma'orei ha'esh. Either one. What ki paligi, but where they argue is this: b'ma'or u'ma'orei, about the words illumination or illuminations. The Beit Shammai Savri, Beit Shammai holds Chadanahara ika benora, that there's just one illumination in fire, and therefore the singular Ma'or ha'esh should be used in the text of the blessing. There's only one that you should only see illumination of fire. And Beit Hillel Savri, whereas Beit Hillel says Tuva Nohore Ika Benora. There are many different illuminations in the fire, and therefore the plural Ma'or ha'esh should be used in the text. So, what's going on here? Simply put, Rashi, I believe, said it. Right, as Rashi says, when it says many lights, it means that the flame has red, white, and yellow in it. Okay, so right, and so if you look at a flame, that's exactly what it's it, right? Actually it's one more, blue.
Yeah.
Blue, white, yellow, red, or actually the other way around.
Orange, whatever.
Right, you have a lot of colors there. Okay. So now the question, really the argument is, what am I making a bracha on? Am I making bracha on the original fire or that which emanates from the fire? Because the fire is really one color when you're starting off. The burning is really one color. As it goes up into the atmosphere, as it gets away from the main source, that's when it starts to get lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, right? That's the way it works.
Oh, I think, at the source it's
source is blue.
The blue is the hottest,
blue.
right?
That's the hottest, right? So then it's going to go, again, as you come up, it's going to change the colors, whatever that color is going to be, but you'll be able to see the colors. So that is really the argument as to what's happening. What do you say it on? Do you say it on the main source of the main source of the flame, or do you say it on all of the flame? Okay. Now, the Anaf Yosef asks an interesting question, and I'm going to go through it because actually on this, for some reason, the Anaf Yosef decided he's going to ask hashkafic questions. He's going to ask philosophical questions. I don't know why, but this is what he asked. He said, "Okay, you have an argument whether or not what bracha you should make." So he said, "V'chein cholkim v'kiddush," and he said they also, the Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel also had an argument with regards to kiddush, whether or not I should say the bracha on over the day before, of the wine before. In other words, how do you make kiddush? The original argument is Beit Shammai said you make the Mekadesh HaShabbat first, and then Barei Pragafen. Why? Because first, why am I making a blessing on the wine? Because of the day. So first I should sanctify the day, which causes me to have the wine. Beit Hillel disagreed, and he said, no, first you make a bracha over the wine, and then you sanctify the day, which is what we do. We follow Beit Hillel. And his argument is, the only reason I'm sanctifying the day is because I have the wine. So the wine causes sanctification of the day. Good, that's it. That's one argument. Then he says, also an Havdalah. If I'm supposed to make the order of candle, what's the order of Havdalah? Is it first I make barim eish over the candle, then I make over the spices, then over the wine, and then finally the Havdalah? Or do I say the candle, the wine, the besamim, and the Havdalah? So he says, wait a second. That's the argument, okay? So then he says, Kasha, I have a real problem. Okay? What's this problem? Didn't they see or hear what their fathers did, or their rabbis did in Shabbos and Yom Tov? They're not the first Jews here. Let's face it, you're Beit Shammai, you're Beit Hillel, you're a school of thought. That means there's plenty of people before you throughout the generations.
Established. What are you arguing
about? Right. What are you bothering me for? Go home and see what you're doing. Ask your father or dad, how do you make Havdalah? How do you make this? How do you do that? What are you coming and making dang cup? Going nuts. Okay, I think I should do this, that. I'll give you a reason for what I should do it. Your minhag avotenu biyadenu. The custom of our falls in our hands. Go to your father. You don't trust your father, go to your Rebbe. So we're making Kiddush weekly. It's not brain surgery. Okay, that's what it's saying. That's really his question. He's yelling, what is going on here? And can you really believe that to say that they forgot what something is constantly happening? You want to tell me that we don't know what happens on Yovel. That's once every 50 years.
Yeah.
You want to tell me I don't know? I can believe that. Once every 50 years, it's not that normal. Okay. You want to tell me it comes to Pashat Amalek, Shavir Zecher and Zecher, all this other stuff that we do? I hear again once a year. But when something's done every single week, it doesn't make sense. Aval ein makom l'kusha. She says no, but this is not the place for that. This is not that question. Why? Mishum dekayim alam, because we establish that say the brachot ein ma'akev, that the order of brachot don't stop the event. In other words, if I made the brachot out of order, it wouldn't. I'm not talking about Shmonesh or something, but if I have different brachot going on, like he'll explain. Like it says in brachot, the first chapter of brachot, and the Rambam, and where he has it, it says the Amar lehem Mona. Beruchu bracha achad ainu ahavat olam levada v'lo yisor, where it says you make one bracha in the morning before Shema, namely ahava rabba, and you don't have to say yod seor. V'lechein, therefore, berishona kol echad v'echad haya makdim oma acher bracha shaya rotzeh. So until that time, until Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel came along, everybody was doing it the way they wanted. Since one bracha doesn't stop the other, they're not connected. If they're not connected, so then if I want to make Mekadesh Shabbat first and then Yayin, that makes more sense to me. Fine. If I want to make Yayin and then a one and then Mekadesh Shabbat, that's fine. That was before.
It
wasn't set.
It may not have been okay. This is almost what Mo said on Shabbos when he gave his little talk about why
we had to write it down.
It was finally written down.
Right, but this is a different thing. This is a different thing because here you could do it any way you wanted. Originally, it was a hefgewelt. It was an ownerless world with regard to this, because I could do it whichever way that I thought made sense. I'll give you an example where we do halachically. You see this, okay? How do you make kiddush on Friday night? What do you do? Stand right. So I think I did this last week too. Okay. Friday night, there's a whole argument in halacha whether or not I should stand for vayechulu or not, or all of kiddush just vayechulu, vayera, vayiboker. What am I standing? What am I sitting for? And why should I stand? And why should I sit? Bottom line is, by the way, you should stand for vayechulu. We don't do this. I don't do this, but vayechulu is when you stand because you're giving testimony to God. About a testimony about God's creation of the world, and you're doing that. So whenever you give testimony, you should be standing. But the kiddush part, you should be sitting because you're supposed to do a b'makom seuda in the place of the meal. So I should be sitting, ready to drink. I shouldn't have an interruption between those two events. Okay, Germans elected to stand all the way through, even though the Ramah said you should sit. For some reason, the Germans chose to ignore the Ramah. I don't know why. But the point is that if I as a Baal Tshuva, one can look at the halacha and make a decision because he can't say the minhag avaten b'yadenu. There's no custom from his parents. So unless you know where you come from, and even if you know where you come from, who cares? You're a new Jew, as it were. So as a new Jew, or certainly a convert, a new Jew doesn't have to follow the minhagim of the place. He can decide as long as he doesn't run roughshod over this, or she or he doesn't run roughshod. They have to follow some community standards. But when it comes to kiddush in their home, who cares? You want to sit, stand, do what you want. Learn the halacha, make a decision. Okay? So imagine that. So that's just standing and sitting. So now imagine you walk in somebody's house and you see them making kiddush. First, this was the sanctification of the Sabbath, and then they end off with Beret Pragaf. And you're going to look and say, what kind of nonsense is that? They explain to you, well, the reason is because first we have to sanctify the day. Now the day is sanctified, so now we're going to sanctify the wine over the meal, and we're going to, it's fine. So you say, oh, that makes sense. I like that. Okay, good. Then you go to somebody else's house and they made Beret Pragafin, and you say, well, why did you do that? Well, the only reason that we're making sanctification of the day is because of the wine. So it makes sense to give the wine precedence. And you say, oh, yeah, so how do you rule? What do you mean, how do you rule? You can do it any way you want. Okay. So then Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel come along and they have this argument. Because they said, again, we want to settle it. We want to make it so it's uniform. I'm not sure why they decide they have to make it uniform. That's a different thing. But it's they said let's have an argument as to why it should be uniform, or to know how to do it. So then what happens is So Ad Shabbat Beit Shammai V'amdu Leminyan Al Seder Brachot, and they fixed it as a halacha to say how we should do it. V'afal B'kein, and even so, Im Hiktim. So now the Anaf Yosef is telling us. Let's say that you did, after all is said and done, Beit Hillel, Beit Shammai had their argument how we say it, so on and so forth. Let's say that you made one bracha out of the order of what we rule, Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel. Did you fulfill the mitzvah or not? Yes, you would say. You fulfilled the mitzvah because we're relying upon the fact that it wasn't, originally it wasn't fixed. Amen. And all, you can say the same thing for any one of the arguments that they're having. So if somebody would want to make Kiddush out of, like Beit Shammai, he could. It wouldn't be nice because we rule like Beit Shammai, but he would have fulfilled his obligation. So somebody messes up. That's basically what it comes down to. Okay, then he says, that's number one. Do you understand? His first question he asks is, wait a second, just look to your parents? And so he answers that the parents could do whatever they want. And that time period, people were using the Gemara that said, whichever way is good, as long as we get everything done. And so until Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel finally came along and had their argument and made a halacha out of it, it wasn't fixed. So that's why they could have an argument. That's why they couldn't ask their rabbi or their parents. They were arguing from logic. What is right? What is wrong? What's the best, or better still, what's the best way? Now, since nothing's right or wrong, they're both right. So what's the best way?
And this is all in the time frame. When were they arguing? Like 100 years after the destruction of the temple?
No, Hillel's much after that.
Much after that.
Yeah.
So again, everybody's scattered already, and
now they're in their schools. They're in the schools.
Yeah.
They're separate schools.
Yeah.
So, but obviously they talk to each other.
Yeah.
But it's the point is, and this is a very big point. Again, but they both were acknowledging that either side was correct. What they were arguing was, what is the best way to fulfill the mitzvah? That's really what they're having the argument about. They're not really, when you're arguing bara versus borei, ma'or versus ma'orei, it's all, what's the best way? What's the biggest praise for Hashem? How should we have people doing it for the rest of the time? See, we don't get it because we do it. We follow Beit Hillel, and that's the end of it. So when we see in the Gemara, that's what we say. Okay, obviously we rule at Beit Hillel, and Beit Hillel is a more lenient guy, blah, blah, blah. We give all that sort of stuff. We make ourselves happy, but we're missing the main point that they were trying to say, what's the best way to serve Hashem? What's the best praise, or in this case, what's the best praise of Hashem? And they had an argument. It wasn't clear. We make it clear, but it wasn't clear. Now he goes to say the next part. Bara versus Uvore. Kuli Olma Lo Peligi. He says nobody is disagreeing that is the past. So he says Kasha. Hi. If nobody disagrees as to the word difference, that Bara and Bore can be referring to the past. So hi, Beit Shammai Amru Bara, Beit Hillel Omrem Bore. So why is Beit Shammai saying bara and Beit Hillel saying bore? Let them agree on that at least. Let them agree. Veich amru shelo pligi. So how can you say they didn't argue? You're telling me they don't argue. They do argue. One says bara, one says borei. What do you mean they don't argue? Right? It's a basic. This is basic knowledge, basic logic.
Even if you agree, it can mean the same thing. They're still arguing over it.
They did. Beit Shammai said bara, ma'orei ha'esh. Beit Hillel says borei, ma'orei ha'esh. So there's an argument. What do you mean to say there's no argument? What kind of nonsense is that? It's like a husband and wife are arguing, and the child comes and says, "You're really not arguing." The husband and wife look to the child and say, "Go to your room." What do you mean we're not arguing? Of course we're arguing. We may be arguing on a stupid point, but we're arguing. I hold this, you hold that. Period. Okay. So he says, "V'od heich efsher." How is it possible even? Shayu poligi ituva nora ika benora or ichad nora haib? How can he even argue whether there's many lights, many different levels of light, or one? Hai enenu ra'od shatuva nahora ika benora. You see with your own eyes. We see with our own eyes. He's arguing. You see with your own eyes that there's different shades of light coming from the light. Blue, yellow, white, whatever. Blue, red, yellow, white. You see that. You know, I don't need to have an argument about this. Here, it's amazing that that's just I've never seen such an argument like this. God, open your eyes. This is not something, it's not space. It's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Make a fire, and we all see it. So Nira, she says, Nira de bara hu lashon avar. So it appears that bara, which is the language of the past, ubore lashon avar v'hoveh, and bore can indicate, it can mean either the past or the present. And even, but we said, everybody agrees that there's no difference in the meaning of bara and borei, mishum de be'esh shayachani trei lishnei, because when it comes to fire, both of these languages work. Mishum shakadosh baruch hu bara yisod ha'aretz, because yisod ha'esh, because Hakadosh Baruch Hu created the foundation of fire. And every day, it's also true that every day we make a new fire. We make fire from anew. It's not like we have a fire and keep letting it and lighting from the pre-existing flame. We make a fire. So but everything is coming from that foundational fire. But the argument between them is the B'Yesoda Eish Gavan Echad uve'Eish Shalanu Yesh Harbe Gavanim. The argument between them is that on the base there is only one color to the flame, and in our flame there are many colors. That's why the argument is between Ma'or illumination and Ma'ore illuminations. Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel Peligi im Varchin al Ma'or Echad, because they're having an argument. Well, am I making the bracha on the original fire, if you will, the one fire, the blue? Al Yesoda Eish, which is foundational, or al Ma'ore Eish Lanu Bahar Begavanim, or is it on our fires that we make, which have many different colors? The Beit Shammai Savra Chad Nahara Ika Benora, he holds that you just said on the original fire, Paris to be a soda ish, okay, Hu Gavanecha, which is one color, Verkochachat Sarach Lama Bore Maor. That's why you're forced to say created the illumination. Should be a soda ish Shaykh. We're only talking about the foundational fire, and that's why Lashon Avar Shekavar Bara. That's why he says Bara Maor. Okay, because he already created that foundational stuff. That's not being created anymore. That was a one-time creation, and never to be seen again. We all have it. Okay? Beit Hillel Savri, but Beit Hillel said no. Sha'anu avarchin nami al shalanu. We're also blessing on our fires. Va'anu matziin tamid v'harbe gavanim yeshbo. And when we bring out the fire, there's many different colors that come from it. V'gam al yisod ha'esh shugavein echad. And also on the original fire, we have to say it. Al kain tzarich lamar. That's what we have to say. Borei. That's what we have to say. Creates. the Shaykh Bo Lashon Hava, which is inclusive of that to the present tense. Namisha Anu Motzian Tamid Mechadash, because we also bring it out from new. So you understand, it's again a change of language, but it's also a change of philosophy. What exactly are we making the blessing on? Are we making the blessing on God's one-time creation of fire, where He created the fire on Saturday night, and so that's why we make it Havdalah anyway, because of that. And so we're saying creates the flame, the illumination of the fire, which is from God, the baseline fire, that blue, and that's what we're making it on. And that's past tense, so this all remains past. Or are we also making it on the flame that we make today? In other words, so we strike the match and we have and we're going. So not only would we make it on the previous, the main, the yesod, the foundational fire, but also we would make it on the future fires which we are active in. So borei is constantly being done. We're become partners with Hashem, as it were. So what is the proper way to do it? That's the argument. How should we view this thing? Just as a past event or as a continual event? Beit Shammai said, no, it's past. It's it, only past. It's done, finished. And we want to praise God for that. And Beit Hillel said, no, it's continuous. And again, you can go very far with Hashkafa, with Jewish philosophy on this. How do we view anything? It said that we continue to be a partner in creation, or is creation not part of us? We're just there, to use Shakespearean lines. The world is a stage, but we're mere players. We have nothing to do with it. We're not really, we can't really activate anything. So that's really the question that you get into here. That's what I'm saying. In the yeshiva, again, I have to emphasize, for those on this thing, yeshiva will never do this because it's not a halachic opinion.
Yeah, you can also say, like if you say it's in the past only, and are you saying that everything else is just happenstance?
No, what I'm saying is everything is I'm turning on the switch.
Yeah.
I'm just reactivating. I'm not even doing anything. I'm just allowing it to happen. It's like electricity. Yeah. If you think about electricity is there. It's always there. I just make the connection. Yeah. But I close the switch, and it allows everything to happen. The whole thing about the Shabbos switch, that they argue that you're not doing anything. I just open or close something. What's the big deal? I didn't do anything. So when it comes to electricity, in reality, I didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I just allowed it to be trapped or whatever, however the circuits work, and then you have light. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say creates light on this. By the way, this is also why you should never make Havdalah over these sort of lights, alternate current.
Unless you're
only if I have a direct.
Or something, huh?
No, even there, you should have a direct current, the flashlight, where it's a battery, and I put it on. I'm the one that's causing that.
Oh, because you're saying house current. It's because it's alternating current. It is going on and off.
On off.
You can't see it because it's
right, but I didn't do it because it's just going through. Compared to direct current, I've done something there. I've created that light. I really have created that light. I've forced that light to go on. The light wasn't there. There was no electricity going through that. It was direct current. I gave the current.
Right, but if this is there's no current going through that either.
Sure, there is. The current is coming constantly.
Huh?
Current. I just stopped the current from hitting there by opening. Is it open the switch?
Yeah, open the switch.
By opening the switch, that's when I stopped the current.
Stop it. Open. Yeah, it's open. It's
right.
not connected.
So when I open the thing, so I don't allow the current to be there. The current is right there though, by the switch.
Yeah.
The current is to the switch.
Well, but you said, but the battery too. It's right there.
But the battery is not giving any current until I engage it. I can touch the battery. I can. No, I'm wrong.
You got it. I don't know. You got
okay, that would be the question.
And a neutral wire coming. Well,
the way I understand, that's how it works.
One wire is already connected. You're connecting the second wire when you flip the switch.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert.
You were saying because alternating current is going on and
off. That alternating current is what they pick on because on off.
Yeah. So when you turn it on, it's really going on, off, on, off.
Right. So what do you make a bracha? Yeah, but it's going so fast. Who knows? I don't know. But they also direct. But I thought direct current was also the same sort of thing. Okay, I'm not 100% sure.
That's interesting.
Even though I went to electric shop and I made my light, I don't know how the whole thing works. Okay. I try to figure things out.
Or I mean, you could say that there is always electricity flowing in your house. There's always something that's on.
Right.
So maybe that's what you're trying to imply.
Yeah, no, I'm saying
with a battery, with a flashlight.
It's not on.
Yeah, you have the potential there, which is what they call
right.
potential.
Right.
But it's not.
Oh, so then
it's
you're
not connected to anything.
Right. So then we're agreeing.
Your house current is always running around somewhere in the house.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That'll be what it is. I'm not creating this light. So I say Barem Yireh Eish who creates this light. I didn't create it. It was already there, just waiting to come through.
But see, your patient in the hospital, they don't want you to light.
Right. So no, that they would say you should have a battery operated lamp.
That's interesting. Okay.
Okay. So we'll have to stop here. Okay.
That's interesting.
We'll be on the next one.